Hello, this is Mrs. Bonjanor, and I am ready and set to read Chapter 21 of The Adventures of a South Pole Pig. At first, Flora couldn't see how they could possibly succeed without bait to bring the rats to them. But Aleric led Sophia and Flora behind a wooden post and put his finger to his lips. Then he slipped away. From the other end of the hold, a terrific banging began along the wall and floor. The knocking and thumping came closer and closer. Soon they could hear the sound of 1,000 tiny feet running toward them. Flora tensed her muscles. "Turn around and wait for it," Sophia whispered. "I'll tell you as soon as they are in place." Flora turned. "Now," said Sophia. Flora fired her back feet behind her. The rats were thrown into a panic. They ran this way and that. Flora kicked and kicked while Sophia dashed in for the cleanup. As the remaining rats disappeared in the dimness, the lantern bobbed toward them. Aleric fell to his knees, counting in a low voice. "Nice work. 4 more. He laid his stick down and scratched both of his teammates on the head. "What would I do without you guys?" He tossed the dead rats in a pile, and then he was up again. Flora and Sophia took their places for another round. By the time Big Amos came downstairs with breakfast, Flora was back on her chain. Sophia and Aleric stood behind 12 rats in 2 piles, waiting for the cook. Flora looked on with pride. The rats had been hunted down with skill and teamwork. Big Amos peered at the boy and cat as if trying to understand what had happened. "You two wait for me." After putting Flora's slops out, he went back upstairs and returned with his hands full. "Good kitty." He put a plate down for Sophia and patted the cat on the head. "Food for Rat Boy, too. Fresh biscuits and scrambled eggs above deck. Come with me and throw these overboard." Aleric grabbed a bunch of tails in each hand and followed. He was gone all day, but when he came back with the cook the next morning, he stuck around after Big Amos left. He untied Flora, and all 3 ran to their places. Flora heard the stick begin knocking at the far end of the ship. She and Sophia smiled at each other and waited for their turn with the rats. But this time, just as the first wave reached them, heavy footsteps sounded at the top of the stairs. This panicked the rats even more than usual. Instead of simply running from the sound of Aleric's stick, they began leaping about like fish and scurrying in many directions. Flora felt a split second of fear. What would Amos do if he found her unchained again? But she couldn't waste the work that Aleric had done hurting the rats. It was too late to hide anyway. Her body went into a crouch, and when Sophia gave her the signal, she began spinning and kicking. When the last of the rats had been killed or had escaped, Flora turned to face Amos. But it was not the cook. Standing on the bottom step was another man. He took his hat off and smiled. "I wondered what all that banging was down here. Cook told me some good but mysterious work was being done on our rat problem. I thought I should take a look." He stepped onto the floor of the hold and walked toward them. "Amos said it was a cat and boy operation, but it looks to me as if we have a secret weapon." He scratched behind one of Flora's ears and ran his hand down Sophia's back to the tip of her tail. "If I hadn't seen it for myself, I would have not believed it." "Hello, Captain," Aleric stammered. Flora caught her breath. "What's your name, son?" "Aleric, the cabin boy, sir." He brought his feet together and made a clumsy salute. "Well, Aleric, there is no sailor on this boat working harder than you." The captain clicked his heels and saluted in return. "It seems you have found an unexpected role for the ship's pig. I don't suppose the cook knows about this." "No, sir." Aleric looked down at the floor. He shuffled his feet. "The pig is supposed to be chained up, getting fat. Please don't tell cook, sir. I'm in plenty of trouble as it is." The captain didn't say anything at first. Then a slight smile tugged at his lips. "Son, you never know who will step up with the brains and talent in a time of need and be the right one for the job. We'll keep this between us." Shouting from the deck above interrupted the moment. The captain looked up. I better return to topside. We're closing in on our final destination, and we've entered iceberg waters, so we need to be on extra alert. As you can imagine, the precipitation that falls on these coastal areas is significant and can cause a problem with visibility. He laid a hand on Aleric's shoulder. Carry on, sailor. Yes, sir, Aleric saluted again. But can I ask you a question, sir? If it's a quick one. What happens to me once we reach our final destination? The explorer unloads me and the expedition team, then sails away to pick us up on another side of the continent. You will be part of that skeleton ship's crew. The captain gave him a smile. Meanwhile, the expedition team and I are going by dog sled across the entire span of the Antarctic, something never done before, journeying from food station to food station. If we are successful, we have made history. Flora gazed at him with admiration. Now, there was a born leader. Something about him reminded her of Oscar. Aleric jumped in boldly. I was hoping I could go along on the expedition, sir. The captain laughed. Eric slumped. I'm sorry, the captain said. It's much too dangerous for a boy. Besides, the ship needs every available pair of hands it can get for the difficult trip. Another shout crackled from the top of the stairs. Loud pounding of boots came from right above them. The captain looked up again. More icebergs, he muttered. I better get upstairs. Keep up the good work, son. But just as the captain stepped on the bottom stair, a bone-numbing jolt knocked Flora off her feet. Her ribs slammed into the floor and knocked the breath out of her. The sound of splintering wood filled the air, and in a single moment, no one, not even the captain, was in control of anything.